Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Bama Standard. Before we get rolling, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, turn on all notifications, and jump in the live chat. If you don't want to do that, we got a comment section below that you can comment on. Also, make sure you follow us on all social media, including our new YouTube channel. Go right there after the show. We are, as always, are brought to you by Workspace Solutions and Oakmont Financial Partners, LLC, and I'm your host, Justin Riley, and with me, as always, the living legend, all-SEC linebacker, 1999 SEC champion, Mr. Marvin Constant. What's going on, sir?
Not much. What's going on?
And, folks, Stephen M. Smith will not be joining us tonight. He is on punishment from last week, so he got a little out of hand. Maybe, just maybe, he'll be back with us next week with our big guest. We shall see. But listen, Alabama fans, we had kind of an interesting weekend. The first scrimmage went down, but probably the biggest outcome of the weekend that a lot of Alabama fans had their eye on was four-star defensive lineman Kelby Collins right out of Gardendale, again, right in Alabama's backyard. Grew up an Alabama fan, and many thought we're going to Alabama, but Florida gave that late push that got us a little nervous. Well, at the end of the day, Mr. Collins ended up going with the Gators after all, to the shock of many Bama fans. And this is a guy that we've been following for quite some time, and to say this is disappointing is kind of an understatement. So fans are in an uproar. You know, my question is, do we really need to be concerned? I mean, after all, we still got two more guys on our radar on the defensive line, five-star James Smith and his teammate Jaquavius Russaw out of Carver Montgomery on the board. They could possibly go to Alabama, but folks are starting to wonder. You know, we lost Peter Woods on the onset of recruiting, and we kind of brushed that aside and were able to move forward, especially with the signees or commitments we got since then. But now with Kelby Collins making his decision, it hits a little bit different, and folks are starting to point towards Freddie Roach again. So Marvin, with that happening, man, what is your initial thoughts on yet another lifelong Alabama kid leaving right out of Bama's backyard to go to another school?
I played the fifth.
You plead the fifth.
Season just starting. I don't already want to be on the news again. All on radio again. I'm gonna let you tackle this one. I plead the fifth.
Marvin, come on now. This is your forte, man, because you are always outspoken about that. But what could possibly lead a kid to leave what he grew up cheering for to pursue something different? Is it a change of atmosphere, different kind of relationship?
A lot of times coaches on other teams will sell a kid on what they have to offer them versus what won't be offered to them.
I got you. Well, I also go back to an earlier conversation we had a few weeks ago. Do you think some of these recruits are looking at the development across the defensive line under Pete Golding?
Again, some coaches will sell a recruit on what they can offer them. And that can be in terms of coaching, development versus what they won't be receiving.
Gotcha, and that definitely is a concern because as we look at the NFL draft here recently, not since Quinnen Williams have we had a defensive lineman go in the first round. And the closest thing we had to that was Christian Barmore. Of course, he was in the second round, but not quite what we're accustomed to. So people are starting to ask questions. And as we look at the recent guys who are on the team right now, you know, we look at DJ Dale and then Justin Aboybe, both highly recruited, highly touted, coming into Alabama, haven't quite lived up to potential. Yes, they got one more year, but the production overall isn't quite what we expected.
You just want me to jump in this rabbit hole so bad.
It's not so much if you. I know you are trying to play nice, but for the moment that I need you to be Marvin Constant, man, you can't go hide somewhere or give me the G-rated version or the made for kids version, so we can at least give the folks just a little something to chew on.
I told you, sometimes coaches will sell a player on what they can get at their institution versus another. And sometimes that boils down to coaching, you know. Coaches have been known to slight other coaches Um, oh man, Jamie, man, y'all better listen. I've been saying it for too long. Y'all didn't want to listen to me. But a lot of times coaches will play on the fact of another coach's weakness to get kids to their side. You got to ask yourself, who's coaching the D line at Florida? What can they offer this kid? Who's coaching D line at Clemson? What can they offer Peter Woods? There's a lot of things that come into play that make these kids make their decision because, again, at the end of the day, it's all about making it to the next level. And if you're not going to receive that development to make it to the next level, then boom. Have we had a first-line defensive lineman go since Pete has been our defensive coordinator?
No, that's a big no. Like I said, the only thing closest was Christian Barmore here a couple of drafts ago. And he seems to be developing a lot better under Bill Belichick and starting to come on into his own. To be honest with you, I thought he could have done a lot more at Alabama. Not to discount what he did, but I just felt like had he had the proper development, he could have been a Quentin Williams, if not better.
Who's the defensive line coach at Florida?
I'll have to check that out. Give me 1 second. But, yeah, and no slight to these kids because making a decision is not easy. It's a very difficult process, weighs on them mentally and spiritually and physically.
It's not that difficult. You go where you feel comfortable to get what you need to get and get done. It's real simple.
Question from the audience from Lucian. Yo, Marvin Constant, do some of these kids want the big fish, small pond experience rather than that fight for what they got?
I'm not going to say that's that because anytime you go to an SEC program, you're still in a pretty large pond. Larger than the pond that they came from. But the difference is the pond at Alabama, Georgia, all these schools, it's going to be a lot more fish involved in that process. It's going to be a lot more talent. But even with a team like Florida, Florida's had talent. It just wasn't coached very well. So I think you're going to see Florida do a lot better this year, too. You're going to see those things come along. Now, the thing you got to understand, too, about recruiting is a lot of first-year, second-year coaches, they recruit these young guys and tell them, hey, I want to build a program around you. So, they'll get these guys to come in, and they know these guys will start for them for 2-3 years. And for them, for the kid, that's a plus. The kid knows if I can go to Florida and start for 2-3 years, that's going to be looking great on my resume.
Yeah, absolutely. And to answer your question, the defensive line coach is Sean Spencer. And folks, don't get me wrong, Billy Napier is an excellent coach. He did amazing things at his last stop, and I think if given time, he'll be able to turn Florida back into that competitor that we're used to. So, for him going there, it doesn't necessarily put him in a bad position, but as an Alabama fan, you wanted him with us. Is someone, like I said, we've been watching on our radar for several months now, and it kind of feels like a punch in the gut a little bit.
And who's the defensive coordinator at Florida?
Defensive coordinator. Let's see here. And real quick, and in response to Derek Lang, yes, the freshman on the defensive line that you were talking about is Jaheim Otis, and actually glad you brought that up. This past Saturday in the scrimmage, he was virtually unblockable. He was an absolute nightmare for the offensive line. Him and Jamil Burroughs were quite a problem, and it's giving a lot of Tide fans the idea that possibly 2-3 games in, maybe halfway through the season, they could be in a starting rotation.
Well, I missed the scrimmage. I'm sorry. I was tied up.
Let's see. Oh, it's Sean Spencer. He's the defensive coordinator and the defensive line coach.
Well, there you go. That might have a lot to do with it.
Speaking of the scrimmage as well, one of the things that came out was, surprisingly, Eli Ricks isn't quite catching on like fans would hope into. Superstar transfer from LSU is having a hard time learning the plays and kind of getting acclimated. Matter of fact, from what I understand, Terrion Arnold has been upstaging him, a young kid coming up, man, playing all out. Do we have another situation like with Henry To'oTo'o not be able to adjust the way people thought he should here with Rick?
Did he do anything in the scrimmage?
Nothing was really said to him. The other linebackers look great. Nothing really said much about Henry To'oTo'o. Mainly
Well, I missed that scrimmage, and I'll miss the scrimmage this Saturday. I've been traveling a lot, so I hadn't gotten to see a lot of what was going on. But you want my honest opinion? I could care less what happens in camp. You talk to me on September the 3rd, September the 10th. That's when I care about your performance. That's when I want to see what you've done all off season to prepare for said moment.
I got you. Well, as we're 2 weeks away from the season, man, back in 1999 for you, where was your mind at, and what were you trying to accomplish going in that early?
I mean, everybody who knew me knew I wanted to destroy everything in front of me. So I made no doubt about. I left no doubt about it. On the field, I tried to destroy everything in front of me. My coaches all knew I was ready. All my teammates knew I was ready. They all knew that they went on the field with somebody who was going to lead by example. They knew they had a true field general who wasn't taking no crap from nobody. So it was easy for me to rally those guys and get them going, man, even being as young as I was. My age didn't matter to them because, again, they knew they had, one of the most physical players in the country, one of the smartest players in the country leading their defense. So they were very comfortable with that. So it was an easy transition for me. And I knew, my goal was to get every plaque, every award I could get, and continue to prepare myself for that next step.
No, you were definitely there. But going in now, who are you looking to on that defense to be your guy? Who are you counting on the most to live up to the billing that we're getting of possibly the greatest defense ever?
I'm not counting on anyone to live up to any hype. See, that's where you go wrong when you place the onus on one player. I'm looking for them as a unit to do great things. Because if you just have one great defensive player, that means you have 10 other players that are slacking, and that is not a good recipe. So I'm looking for them as a unit. Now, who's going to be that one person to lead them? We all know it'll be Will Anderson, but it shouldn't be Will. Will should be secondary to that middle linebacker. That's where it starts and stops with defenses. If your middle linebacker is not well put together, if he can't lead that defense, you're going to be in trouble. Because the thing about playing middle linebacker, when you're constantly getting beat up, high tempo, you get tired. You have to make constant checks and adjustments. If you're tired and you're beat up, you're going to slack at getting everybody else where they need to be. You understand? That is the true job of that middle linebacker, to make sure everybody is where they're supposed to be and make tackles. You have to be able to do it all. So, if Will is the guy rallying the defense, we got problems. Because Will isn't going to be the one calling the defense. He's not going to be the one calling the adjustments. He's not going to be resetting the coverage. That's the middle linebacker's job.
Mm-hmm. Well, Lucian has a question for you. Marvin, would it be better for our defense if Henry T was utilized as a dime backer instead of inside and plug someone a little bit bigger and more physical in the middle?
I would definitely take that. You also got to have somebody who's more physical, who has the intelligence level that's needed to run said defense, because you can't just be physical and not know how to make the calls and the adjustments, because you got to realize most of the time it's a loaded call, so it might be 2 or 3 calls in one, and depending upon the formation that the offense comes out in, you got to be smart enough to reset that defense to match. Man goes in motion, you got to go down the line to the next check to reset the defense again. You got to reset the coverage, reset the front. I mean, it's so many things that has to be done before that ball is snapped. So not only do you have to be physical, you got to have that mentality, that mental toughness, as well as being very highly intelligent. Because again, if your middle linebacker isn't the smartest person on your defense, you're in trouble.
Absolutely. And from what I understand, he is getting it, but we don't need him to be making tackles 5 yards down the field, 10 yards down the field.
You heard me say you got to be able to do both. You got to have this and this to go play that position.
But people want to point out the fact that he had 115, 120 tackles last year and was one of the leaders in the SEC.
How many of those were 5 yards downfield?
But usually the people making those comments are those who don't really understand the game. So they're just going to be the casual fan that just kind of looks at that, and they're going to base their hot take and their assessment off of only that.
Yeah, 2nd and 5, we screwed. You've opened up the offensive coordinator's whole candy box at this point. 2nd and 5, he can call whatever he want because even if he doesn't get it, he's still 3rd and 5.
Mm-hmm. Well, as we wait on Tony Dixon, man, if you would, before he jumps on, tell the audience a little bit about your relationship with Tony and what he meant to that defense. Because the way I look at it, what really made that defense work in '99, of course, you first and foremost, but then it was Tony. Y'all are the two guys that really were the field generals that really put that whole puzzle together. Can you elaborate a little bit on that before he jumps on?
Yeah, when I first met Tony, man, Tony was a cool dude, but he used to wear tube socks and loafers. So it started off the field, I had to work on his appearance and his character. I was like, just because you from Reform, man, you can't wear tube socks and loafers with khaki shorts and a tank top on. I was like, we don't know where you're going. If you're going to a beach, business meeting, Sunday school, yeah. So I had to get him together fashion-wise first and foremost. Now, the football part, that was easy because if you know Tony, he grew up in Reform. He grew up wrangling hogs and chickens on the farm. So he was a good old country boy at heart, right? So he had a solid work ethic. So, it was easy to get him to transition and put all the tools together once he spent a little time with me, And to this day, that's one of my closest friends. I talk to Tony at least several times a month, Still giving him pointers on fashion, making sure he's dressed appropriately, in the corporate world, make sure he's not embarrassing us out here. But overall, man, I will say Tony's one of the best guys I know, man. And you talk about somebody who was on that field. Yeah, he was right there with me, man. And people knew. I was coming. Tony was coming. So if you hadn't made that tackle in a matter of seconds, probably want to get out the way.
Oh, yes,
because
sir.
there's some dudes coming that's finna clean up everything.
Couldn't ask for a better promo than that. But, ladies and gentlemen, let me go ahead and bring him in. He's absolutely one of the hardest hitting safeties in the game. A 1999 SEC champion, a Dallas Cowboy. Oh, yeah, and the pride of Pickens County. Ladies and gentlemen, Tony Dixon. What's going on? Well, Tony, I think are you on your own mute? I think Pickens County, Marvin.
You on mute, man? Not if you're on an iPhone. Not if you're on an iPhone. Can you hear me?
Check. Can you hear me?
There we go. He's in. He's in.
Yeah. So just had to update my settings. How you doing, fellas?
Man, glad to have you on, man.
Yeah. Glad to be here. Even though I was muted for a minute, I didn't know what was going on, man.
Hey, listen, before we get into everything, I got to know about this whole fashion makeover that Marvin supposedly gave you. You care to touch on that?
Man, if y'all believe that, look, hey, you've been dealing with this a long time. Marvin is you see what he has on right there? That's about the extent of his fashion.
Hey, man, I told him when I first met you, you had on some white tube socks, loafers, and duck head shorts.
Oh my God! Now, hey, I can't even front. I think that I did used to sport the duck head. I can't even front on that one. Hey, duck head was in, man. So definitely had those back in the days.
Now, was your superior ability to tackle people and take folks down due to your experience with hog wrestling? I'm just going by what Marvin said before you jumped on, so I'm just kind of wondering if the two kind of joined together and formed the product we have in Bryant Denny. So,
man, I missed all of that. That dude, man. Hey, nah. My tackling ability came from trying to make sure he didn't get all of them, man. This dude was like cleaning everything up. So I'm asking for the coach to get me in the box. I'm like, can I at least have a few tackles? Shoot, you go on the stat list, man. You look at the DBs, the safeties. We some hard hitting safety back there. We less than 5 because Marvin cleaning everything up. Shoot.
Now was Kenny Smith the problem that Marvin said he was, or was he just complaining because he wasn't getting all the tackles?
Man, Kenny did whatever Kenny wanted to do.
Both.
Kenny's favorite line was, man, I seen something. Man, you ain't seen nothing.
Yeah, man.
Get in there where you supposed to be.
Yeah, man.
Now, Tony, you were one of those guys who was responsible for helping us, transcend into life after Coach Stallings, what kind of challenge did that present to you coming in as a freshman?
Oh man, a lot. I mean, my class was the first full scholarship class in several years. After going through probation, so we had a lot of talent. Don't get me wrong, but it's just coming off, haven't had a national championship win since '92. We still had the likes of those of and I always look at it like, we would have been playing with like Dwayne Rudd, but he chose to go,
Right.
go on to NFL his junior year. But we still had Deshae Townsend, Fernando Bryant,
Yeah.
Michael Vaughn, several other guys on that team that came off the Outback Bowl wins and had some other success as we were trying to rebuild a program back. So to come in that year, I'll never forget when Coach Stallings gave me the phone call and confirmed to me that he was retiring. And, he basically said, hey, you choose a school because of the school and not the coach. Right. And that kind of helped me in the recruiting process, because most people, like when you lose a big coach like that, right, that has so much history behind them, some people choose to go elsewhere. Right. So I chose to stay with Alabama. Matter of fact, after talking to Coach Stallings about that, I didn't commit to a school until late December. So after the conversation is actually when I committed and said, hey, regardless of what direction we're going, this is the school I'm going to. So that was a big decision. And, obviously when we talk about, the Bama Standard and being truly, engulfed in Alabama, I truly do bleed crimson for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. And you mentioned two of the best names to ever do it in that defensive backfield, Deshae Townsend and Fernando Bryant. What did those guys mean to you as far as mentoring you and kind of guiding your career along in the beginning?
Oh, absolutely. Well, first of all, you got to understand the relationship between the corner and the safety, right?
Yeah.
So as a freshman, and those guys were, seniors, they weren't having it. Like, get your tail in position, man. So, they, if I was out of position, they was on it. But not to mention, I still had, some safeties back there, right? I had Kevin Sigler, who was my main mentor when I came in. Still had Andre Short that was back there. Andre Short was a good player for us, and several other guys, right? So Sig he kind of adopted that kind of brother relationship with me. And making sure I was in position, things like that. But yeah, Deshae and Fernando, obviously had great NFL careers. And in both cases, every team they went to, coaches wise, they were saying how great they were in terms of football IQ. Right? We saw that in college. Right? So it's no surprise that Deshae is having a successful coaching career that he is. It's no surprise that Fernando opted to go and coach, because those guys truly understood the game, and they played it great from that corner position, which you can argue were undersized, right? Especially Fernando. Fernando never been big ever, right?
Yeah, so, but that 4.27 helped.
Yes, sir.
just
sir.
A little bit.
He had that oh shit speed for sure. Yeah,
now, I got to ask about a rumor from back in the day when we were there. What's the story about you and Taco Bell? And
that wasn't on me. That wasn't on me. So
you sure Marvin didn't have anything to do with that, Tony?
I think well, nobody had anything to do with it.
I didn't tell this story now, so this one ain't on me now.
Yeah. Nobody had anything to do with it but me. In terms of being hungry, right? So nobody answering the doggone phone, so I said, okay, I'm gonna go make this quick run over to Taco Bell. It's pretty quick. Get over there, get my food, come back. Just happened to be a little bit after curfew, and somebody snitched on me, man. But see, the story behind the story is, hey, I get it. It was one of those, I'm like, all right, hey, I'm gonna get punished for it. But for somebody who never violated any policies, who was clean cut, all that, I still think to this day that the punishment was way too egregious. I ended up getting suspended an entire game for this.
What?
Oh yeah, I got suspended an entire game for this.
I hope you got some extra cheese on them nachos.
I wish I got more than that. Hey, stuff I'm not even gonna say. I wish it had really been for a good reason and good cause all the way around. It was literally for me going to get some food, man. And I was up studying, doing my thing. But and shoot, the time got away from me. But shoot, yeah, I got suspended an entire game, not the first half, not one quarter, the entire game on first offense. So yeah.
Coach TJ wasn't waiting on you in the drive-through line, was he?
Oh man, no, it was. But see, I know, that's still a sore spot. We know who snitched on me.
I know the whole
You sound like you're still bitter, Tony.
I am. So you all pray for me. I'm still trying to forgive, but that is like one is very hard to forgive in this case.
Remember, forgiveness is for you, not for them, Tony. So you had the chance to play for two of the most dramatic wins in Alabama history, and of course, coincidentally, both against LSU, 98 and 99. Can you talk about those games, and do you have a favorite victory out of those two?
Oh man, shoot, which one of them was in the in Death Valley?
That was 98.
98?
98, without a doubt. I think was the most memorable. And I think it's because of the life lessons we learned in it, right? Mm-hmm. You go back and number one, the history of the wins that we've had in Death Valley, the fact that was my first time going down to Death Valley. Even the night getting into the hotel, I'll never forget when we went to watch movies. Like, again, I'm from small town Alabama, right? I hadn't been traveling a lot. We go out to movie night, and I'll never forget they had these people. I don't even want to talk to, but they put it like this. There were some weird people out dancing outside in the theater. They were dressed kind of crazy and all that kind of stuff. But I was like, so everything growing up, you hear about Louisiana and especially New Orleans, Baton Rouge, you hear about voodoo and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, man, they're trying to put voodoo on us. You gotta understand. This is what am I, 19 at that point? Hey,
yeah.
I'm like, I never know. I'm scared to go to the bathroom. I'm like, man, let's get out this movie theater right now. So translate that over to the field. We hadn't lost there since 69 at that point. I'm not sorry. Yeah, 69. Yeah, since 1969 at that point. And we're down. Like, down. Like it's no way that we can come back and at least what we can see. So the fact that we hung in there, and number one, the knucklehead DB, I hate it for him because he got to live the rest of his life knowing that he had two balls that he could have intercepted or at least batted down and let Quincy Jackson catch those balls. But either way, Quincy catch those balls, we go on to win. Quincy is in, icon in Alabama history in terms of LSU. But to see that we had pretty much I ain't gonna lie, some people had given up, right? And then that one touchdown get thrown to Quincy, the ball tipped off and he gets it. That's one. And now all of a sudden you see, the mentality change. And you got to understand, this is coming off a team in 1997 that did not perform to expectations, right? So
and y'all went to Arkansas and got drilled a few weeks before that.
Look, man. Don't be looking all like, yes, we did. Hey,
what you mean we? I wasn't playing.
He was redshirted.
We were still trying our best to find our identity right then. So honestly, that was one of the games to Marvin's point.
Arkansas took y'all life from y'all.
Chakuma and all them cats, they ran all over us, man. It was bad.
Hey, y'all gonna lose 41-6 to Arkansas though. Come on, man.
Bro, you gotta.
Then y'all get back. Dubose want to yell at all of us. He like Dubose. You redshirted me, homeboy. You can't be mad at me for what happened. Don't punish us all. You gotta punish them dudes you took down in Arkansas.
He talking all that, Justin. Nothing would have been different had he been on the field. They were throwing the ball like crazy and running it away from the middle linebacker, so he wouldn't have done nothing anyway.
What? Couldn't nobody run away from me?
Here we go with this.
Oh, he said he could keep up with everybody, even the Olympic sprinter over there at Florida.
Sideline to sideline, baby. You know the drill. Hold on.
But that was the most memorable, man.
When we was in Florida and they had Bo Carroll and John Capel playing running back. What I told man to man, I said they ain't even getting out. They ain't getting past the line of scrimmage. What happened every time they ran a route?
I can't remember that far back.
Tackle, and we gonna lay here until the referee blow his whistle. Yeah. I'm not gonna let you embarrass me on national TV.
You balled out, man. You balled, that's for sure. Now, I don't know if it would have changed the outcome to Arkansas. Arkansas they were too stacked that year, bro.
Oh man, they were loaded.
Yeah,
but hey, listen, we forgot all about that. Of course, what you did against LSU '98. A few games later, we go down to Auburn, take away a victory for the first time ever there. Yep. So you did your thing, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like that changed the game from us for sure, right? Because anybody knows in sports as a whole is mental, right? A lot of it is mental. So. And when you're trying to rebuild a program, you got to start stacking those wins like that, those tough, gritty wins. And now all of a sudden, you're practicing more with a purpose, right? Yeah. So if you got young people out there, you steady practicing, you're getting drugged every week. At some point, they're gonna start believing that, hey, we losers, so let's just play to have fun, right? So until you start stacking those dubs. You're not going to see people that's going to give their all in those situations. You're going to see those people as soon as they go down one touchdown and a field goal, it's over. And everybody know those teams like that when you watch them.
Oh, yeah.
But Dubo started killing us in practice with all the problems.
Bruh, hey, I put it like this. I've never been in a situation when you have a full scrimmage on a bye week. Like, what? Had a full scrimmage. My man Freddie got hurt behind that.
Yeah. Hey.
We out there.
Yeah, Dubo, yeah.
We hurt.
He was trying to be little Johnson boys. I'm like, man, listen, you can't bring that back. They got NCAA regulations now, okay?
We out there hurting the doggone remember the Titans was the worst movie ever in for Alabama football.
Oh my God. Why do we go see that movie?
Talk about that, please.
He referenced that movie for about 3 weeks straight trying to kill us. Like, come on, man.
So I got to ask this. As big as social media is to athletes these days, what kind of effect would it have had on you guys back then, and who would have gotten the most trouble on it, and why was it Marvin?
Oh, my God. Well, I think it's twofold. I think some of the people that are living a great life right now would have had way too much laundry that they left on the field and got caught with and wouldn't be in a position they in. I think then and then I have to say I think some other people probably would have had like a more successful career because they would have truly been in the fishbowl, right? So these kids today, and obviously I have a son that is at Weber State on football scholarship. So I got a chance to see the new age of recruiting. I got a younger son that's about to be that has started school in 10th grade, and I'm seeing that recruiting from a basketball standpoint. And man, just the recruiting aspect, everything about their career, the watch outs, everything. They have to be careful. I mean, heck, we remember it in early 2000s, right? After our days was over, when it first got popular for you to take pictures or take a little video from your flip phone, right? And the trouble that happened behind that, we didn't even have the Twitters and Facebooks and all that. We were still dealing with College Club, man. You remember collegeclub.com?
I wouldn't know that.
He was on Backpage.
Never big on. I didn't get Instagram. I think I finally got on Instagram. It was about 2017, 2018. I didn't get on I got a Facebook. It was like 2011, 2012. I was never into all that stuff, man. Because, I didn't play video games as a kid. So all this stuff never really appealed to me.
Yeah. But no, it would have been a lot different, Justin. Seriously, man. Because, we actually had the freedoms to go out and do basically be kids, right? Basically have fun. And reality is, at that point, if you had a good publicist or PR company, which most powerhouse schools do, the big stories were stopped before it was printed, right? Nowadays it's real time, right? So you don't even have a chance to get in front of the narrative. And at this point, it's not a situation where it's an allegation. At this point, it's a fact, at least in people's minds. So now you have to play, you have to do it in reverse, where now the information is already out there, and now you have to work to control the narrative after it's already been fed to everybody. That's crazy.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Guilty until proven innocent.
This video everywhere. Look at Marshawn. Man, they did Marshawn so bad, man. They snapped Marshawn.
Yeah.
But how you driving the whole car with no front tire?
Bro, that's what I'm still trying to figure out. The whole front tire off.
It's Marshawn. That's all you need to know.
Oh, he was lit though, boy. If you see his mug shot, he was lit, boy.
He had the good stuff.
Yeah. It's definitely a different age. I don't think I could function in this age if I had to, being who I was growing up. Because who wants a camera in their face all the time? Every time you go somewhere, somebody doing this. Yeah. It's like you take the humanness away from being a teenager and a young adult. Because whereas regular people can be human and young adults, athletes no longer can. Because now they want to put you on this pedestal and video everything you do. They've taken the humanness out of being a young adult.
Yeah.
Basically, you go from being 13 to a full-grown adult.
I mean, the press conferences in the 8th grade.
You're a D1 athlete. There's no room for error.
Yeah. It's out. But I mean, you would have adapted, Marvin. I mean, I'm gonna give you more credit than you give yourself. You would have adapted if that was the situation.
I would have adapted, but that don't mean I would have liked it, man.
Oh no, we definitely wouldn't have liked it. I mean, heck, I wouldn't have liked it at all.
Always a camera in your face, and you don't know who's videoing. You don't know who's gonna post it on what. That's the thing about it. It's just like they've really taken. These kids cannot be kids anymore.
Mm-mm.
Right. Oh, imagine no! Everything has to be videoed. Everything has to be put up, and hey, I'm not even on TikTok and all that. So I'm not on TikTok. I'm not on Twitter. I am on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn, but I don't do anything else. So like my boys, like TV for them is TikTok. YouTube and TikTok.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? YouTube and TikTok? That's news. Right. That's TV, and that's their news. What they watch, man. And we grew up watching actually.
I'll stick to CNN.
Imagine all the videos that would have surfaced of Marvin at the Citizens Club.
Hey, bro. First of all, let's be clear. Citizen Club would not have lasted. And the stories that we have about Citizen Club would not be true and would have never happened had we been living today.
But that's why I'm glad we grew up in the era we grew up in. You got to realize we were the last of that era pretty much.
Yeah, that's true.
You're right.
Yeah. We were the last of that era because camera phones hit, 2006, 2007?
Yeah. I mean, when we were growing up, number one, you still had the VCRs, and that's when we was from the era when Girls Gone Wild on VCR became proper.
Yeah.
That lets you know our era. Right. Look, you had Girls Gone Wild, and then from a sports standpoint, that's when the And One videos started coming out.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what and that was all VCR. so Girls Gone Wild and One.
We had wide back TVs.
Look, I can't chat, but I'm seeing a few people now and there. Derek saying what's up, Jamie, what's up, Bama Animal Girls Gone Wild with a tone. That's funny.
Before I touch on your time with the Cowboys, I do have to ask, out of all the rivalries we had, Auburn, Tennessee, LSU, of course, Who'd you hate the most?
Oh, Tennessee. I mean, our era was Tennessee, right? So I don't think anybody from our era would say anything different, because the team of today's they have no idea what that rivalry used to be. It's
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, we're dominating that rivalry now. It's not even a rivalry. It's like another game,
Mm-hmm.
But for us, it was Tennessee. Auburn is like playing your brother. That's like playing your cousin down the street. It meant more to the fans than it did for us, to be honest, at least in my opinion. But yeah, in terms of just hatred, oh, Tennessee, without a doubt. I did not like that orange and white. I didn't like Rocky Top. I didn't like anything about
Didn't it
And being
initially?
packed in the indoor facility with them pumping Rocky
Oh
Tops all
God!
week. Come on,
them.
man.
Man,
Nobody want to listen to this, man.
And I'm
right.
sure the image of Peyton Manning directing the band the year before you
That
got
was our
there.
freshman year, man. That was my freshman year. Marvin wasn't there yet, but yeah, my
Yeah, that
freshman
was
year.
Tony. I was in high school. Yeah, Tony and them let Peyton direct the band in their end zone. Tony and them did that. That was
Let
Tony
them.
and Tony and them let him do that.
Man, that was horrible. That was horrible.
So your first year in Dallas was George Teague's last year. Bama great, man. What did you learn from him, and what was that relationship like? And are you the one responsible for making him retire?
Nah, man, not at all, not at all. So, but no, it was awesome, man. So I had met T, and you think about it, like that's another thing that's different now because things have changed to where, the Alabama team is truly a national team. I mean, you get players from everywhere now. Where when we played, it was really you would have a few players that was from Kentucky or something like that, like a Sean, but for the most part, it was the Southeast, and it was more camaraderie as it was a lot of teams. So I say all that to say that during A Day week was an event, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all of the old players, former players would come back. All the guys in NFL would come back. So we got a chance to meet all these guys. I mean, I'll never forget when Sherman came over there with that big old Dallas star medallion because they used to have a charity basketball game, right? Then they have the
Mm-hmm.
big barbecue. Anyway, I had met Teague, so to go from idolizing this guy to meeting the guy and getting to know when I was playing to then being his teammate and seeing how he goes about his work, man, it was something awesome, man. And he really broke down to me, how to be a professional in the sports and gave me some insight to just really becoming a better, well-rounded player. Understanding the playbook was never my problem, right? I've always been, and most people that I played with would say I was one of the smartest people that they played with. What I had to assess in my mind was get over the idea of trying to be a perfectionist, right? And
So
that
T
trying to
got you off the Krispy Kreme. So T got you off the Krispy Kreme donuts, is what you're saying.
that too. So yeah, I'm sitting there trying to be a perfectionist, right? And when you being a perfectionist, what you mess up around to do, you end up making bad plays and making bad decisions and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it was awesome playing with him and Darren Woodson at that time, who's obviously Cowboy Ring of Honor now. And I played with some greats, and I mean, heck, Larry Allen, who's Hall of Fame,
Oh
Emmitt Smith,
yeah.
who's Hall of Fame, right? All these cats was still on the team when I played there, and it's pretty awesome to learn from all of them.
Terrence Richardson says, Marvin, please go be a guest speaker to them boys. Man, they need to hear it from you when you played.
They don't want me to go down there because I'm going to have to talk to Pete while I'm there. They don't want that to come out.
Tony, I got to hear about the battles between you and Michael Irvin. What were those like?
Oh, well, Michael was going too. Mike, that was his first year leaving. So yeah, when I came in, we had just lost Irvin as well as Troy Aikman. Yeah, so
Oh,
so
that's
yeah, so in both cases, it's funny. Like it's an interesting story to see that I played with two of the most historical football programs in all of sports, right? And in both cases, I was on a rebuild. In both cases, yeah,
Where you're from, reform.
right. Exactly, exactly. So yeah, if you go back and look at that 2001 draft, we didn't have the success that the Cowboy program wanted. But what we did do was started changing the culture because, they were trying to move away from, Michael Irvin getting arrested or the anybody know about Cowboys history. They know about the White House and all of the scandals about the White House and all of that. So it was a lot going on. So they had to bring in some people with, great moral character on and off the field. And if you talk about great moral character, I'm usually going to be in a list of those guys. And
right, because you only got in trouble for going to get Taco Bell, man. You didn't do nothing.
Man. That's all
that
I
was
got.
Your only strike.
That was my only strike, and it took me out for a whole freaking game. But it was Vanderbilt though, so at that point, they was like, we don't need him.
Right.
But now, as your career progressed, you started to do your thing. Things started really falling in place for you, aside from the hamstring tear. But then the injury started mounting up, man, and you had to make a hard decision. How difficult was it for you to put away the game that you love and walk away?
Oh man, that was the worst ever, right? And Marvin is one, and a few other people, like, they didn't hear until years later how my depression and suicidal situations and thoughts. They didn't know. They had no clue because on the surface I played like I was cool, but on the inside when I would get by myself, that's when all of it would hit. But no, I made that decision when I found out I had, a neck injury. When a doctor comes in and tell you, hey, it's a 50-50 chance that, 50% chance that you'll never have an issue is a 50% chance you'll be paralyzed the rest of your life. I'm like, that's not, I'm a safety in the NFL. That's not the kind of odds you want to hear. Right. At that point, my oldest son was at that point 2 years old. So I'm contemplating, like, man, I'm finna go and play this. It's gonna be all good. They can patch me up when we get going. At that point, I'm playing with my 2-year-old, right? And I'm sitting here like, what kind of life is he gonna have if I go and make this decision and go out here and walk on this field, take this risk, and I end up paralyzed? Then what, right? So I could have kept playing, was still having teams calling my agent. They're, interested. But as soon as I got that report, it took about 2 weeks. And I made a decision that, hey, it's over. And I walked away as an unrestricted free agent. So I truly faded to black, because nobody knew. I wasn't on any teams. It was just a situation where I told my agent, hey, if anybody calls, I'm no longer playing. So tough, man.
What I know.
You could have called anybody. You could have called me because I know them battles all too well.
True.
And I know we're running short on time, but I do have to ask, what helped you overcome that depression and that battle with the suicidal thoughts?
Man, a large part, I would say I'll have to give kudos to my wife, because she just would never let me we were just friends. We weren't even really that close at that point, to the point where I was loving her enough to say, let's get married. But she as a friend was like, she would not let me fall. She would not let me succumb. She would come in, and because at that point I was nocturnal, man. I was up all night and I would sleep during the day. So she would come in and open the curtains and do all this kind of stuff, man, and say, hey, you need to get up. Let's go do something. I'm like, I don't want to do nothing. So between that, had to renew my faith. And quite candidly, if it wasn't for my kids, man, it'd probably be totally different. I'll be honest.
Completely understand.
Yeah. And then after that, I didn't start sharing this story really until, man, about 4 or 5 years ago. So we're talking about going over 10 years, over a decade before I was even sharing it, before my mom and my parents even knew. When I shared it the first time publicly, that was the first time my mom had heard it. And that was like in around 2015, 2016.
Wow.
Because it's not an easy thing to do, because I didn't tell my mom till 2014, 15 years later.
Right. It's tough. It's tough. People don't understand. I mean, we do as former players, but on the outside, people look at it and just think, hey, they got it all. You know, they're fine. They got all the support they need. It's not the case, right? You know, it is what you make it, and a lot of us, you know, after you've been trained all these years, that you know to put all that aside, and once you get them in between those lines, nothing matters anymore. You know, it's hard to transition when you no longer have that outlet. You don't have the outlet to go and knock somebody out. You don't have the outlet, you know, to be in the locker room and joke around with players. At this point, you just by yourself, right? And that the steal of the night and the silence of the night is not what's good for you at that time.
But the hardest part is watching all your friends play. That is the hardest damn part.
Yeah.
I couldn't watch football for a few years.
Likewise.
Yeah,
likewise. And people don't understand why you don't watch games. I'm like, what I want to watch it for, right? Because right. I mean, Tom Brady made it hard because I'm sitting there like I'm trying to wait until everybody that I played against is no longer playing to start watching. This dude, I'm like, dude, I had to start watching between him and Drew. I'm like, man, are y'all ever gonna stop? Because Drew Brees was the same year. Tom Brady was drafted a year before I was. So how I feel now looking at my kids, they looking at me like, oh, Dad, you know, they were drafted the same year as you, and actually Brady was before you, and you here and they still there. Like, hey.
As they get older, they realize they protect quarterbacks and everybody else just get beat to hell.
And especially now, quarterbacks haven't been hit since Indianapolis Colts was in the playoffs and Peyton Manning got his bell rung that whole game. It hadn't been the same since. Ever since that game, if you go back, the rules have changed ever since that happened.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that with us because that's something in this coming more to the surface these days. It's being talked about more. I mean, we've had Alabama players deal with the same thing, like Nico Johnson, and here recently on the current team, Javion Cohen, I believe it was. He had to take himself out and put himself in a facility to overcome the struggles he was having on the mental aspect. So it's a very real thing, and I appreciate you sharing that with us, man. And it probably helped some folks in the audience watching. So again, thank you for that.
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Before we close up, I do want to ask one last question. You played, along with Marvin, on one of the best defenses in Alabama history. Going into the season, this current defense is getting the billing of possibly the greatest defense ever. To even be in
the conversation, truth about Pete, Tone. Don't sugarcoat it.
To even be in the conversation, knowing what I just said, playing with who you play with, what does this defense have to show you to be in the conversation?
Man, number one, just physicality, man. Like physicality at the point of attack, all right? And, you know, we
when you say that, you're referencing one person in particular because everybody know point of attack, middle linebacker, baby. Tell the truth. Quit sugarcoating it.
I'm just saying, like, when we prided ourselves at winning the individual battle, and that was about winning that point of attack. And if we didn't do it, like, you had teammates that would actually be on you to get it done, right? So, you know, that's what I have to see. I'm seeing way too much finesse. I'm seeing way too many. You know, don't get me wrong. You're gonna make physical mistakes. Mm-hmm. But the mental mistakes that I've seen and the missed tackles that I've seen without people around to help, that's a problem. Right. So you have to solve for that and get out of the hero syndrome. I feel like there's some hero syndrome going on. And if you get more into playing like a true unit, I think you'll start seeing all the talent that's around that team come together. But I don't know. I just don't know if that's the way it's coached and taught now. Right. I've been away from the game. I hadn't been around practices to see how they coach, but just watching it, it makes me think that may not be how it's being taught and coached.
I got you. Well, as we move into the closing segment, Marvin, I'm going to turn that over to you real quick. Tell us about 40 Plus Strong, what you got going, how fans can still get the book, and if there's anything else that you're going to be releasing soon?
Amazon. You can find it all on Amazon, baby. No, I'm just still over here working, man, trying to get stronger, man. You know, it's crazy. My rebuilt knee, my quad. Hey, this ain't but a 10-pound difference in my strength now. Yeah, so when I went and got my last biometrics done, it's a 10-pound pressure difference, baby. We done came a long way, baby. Whoa.
Proud of you, man. That was some hard
Yes,
work.
sir. Yeah, man. Big proud.
I told you I ran for the first time last week. I had to stop. Like, that was my first time running in years. I just wanted to do it one time, see if I ran with no problem. Now, we ain't gonna make a habit of that, but it was cool to be able to do it.
All right. Seriously, did you hear Coach TJ's voice in your ear while you were running?
No.
Nah, that's Casey.
If anything, I heard Rodney Brown.
Yeah.
If anything, I heard Rodney Brown voice. Kick.
He heard Doc Brown.
on that damn Cybex. Man, I spent so much time on that damn thing.
Man, I feel sorry. I feel bad. I've always hated coming in and watching you on that Cybex, man. And then when I had no idea when I got to Combine, we was going to have to do that Cybex. I was like, what? Before I run the 40? What the heck, man? Yeah.
Before we close out, I'm going to go ahead and give our audience a preview of what's coming next week. Yeah, folks, that's it. Brody Kroll will be here next week. Tony, thank you so much for joining us.
You didn't do that for nobody else, man. What the hell going on?
I'm like,
upgrades, man.
That's pretty doggone cool right there, man.
I ain't gonna even say that. Hey, Tony, I got a question for you before you get out of here, though. I'm thinking about coming down for that Red River shootout. You and the wife want to go to the game?
I'm a football dad now, man. I may not even be here.
Oh, that's right. I'm gonna have to see, man. If you'll be there, I was thinking about coming down, me and my wife, man. You know, Bates, the defensive coordinator at Oklahoma.
Oh, I didn't know. Oh, that's right. I saw that. I forgot about it though.
Yeah, I was talking to him the other day.
What game is that? What we? Well, we'll talk.
I don't know. I gotta look at it and see. But I was just giving you a heads up. Thinking about it. I'm gonna look at it on the calendar when I get off, and I'll shoot you the dates at some point. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, tell Brody I said what's happening too. I went to school obviously with his brother-in-law and his sister. So
okay.
Yeah, tell him I said what's up, man. That intro video, man. What the heck? What's up with that?
Something new, man. So I just rolled it out, and next time you hear, I'll make sure yours is the best for sure.
Man, you probably can't even find footage, man. That stuff's so old.
Oh man, we can find it. It's
there.
Look
like it was snowing. It's gonna be grainy.
Oh man!
But Tony, tell folks
the same grainy video.
Right.
Tell fans how they can follow you on social media. What's up next for you, and also talk to us a little bit about the Tony Dixon Foundation.
Yeah. So I am Tony Dixon is Instagram. I don't even know what the Facebook is. Just find Tony Dixon. You'll find it. Similar to LinkedIn, Tony Dixon on LinkedIn. You can catch me that. Yeah, Tony Dixon Foundation was something that established back in 2018, right in front of COVID, when I was still living in Birmingham. Really focused on West Alabama youth. The goal behind it and the theme is Dare to Dream, right? So I'm a firm believer in that your dreams are not unlocked to their full capacity until you're exposed to the possibilities. So as a youth, I didn't even think of the possibilities, didn't think I was capable of making it to even Alabama. And even while in Alabama, I didn't think I was capable of making it to NFL. Both of those came reality, not because of what I dreamt, is because of the hard work. Now imagine if I had the dream of being what I was and had the hard work at that point. Who knows what it could be? I wouldn't have been living a life of imposter syndrome at that point. So, the goal of the organization is to give people that outlook into what is possible and break the mental glass ceiling so they can be their best self.
That's what's up, man. Give us the information because I'll definitely promote that on our show from week to week and tell people how they can get involved.
Yeah, so it's TonyDixonFoundation.com. You can get all the information from there. It has my info, and then we also are now planning for next year. So we haven't set the calendar yet for 2023, but we're going to be setting that calendar. We're going to have a lot of, probably get back to, I know my man, get back to, definitely pouring into those kids now that COVID, restrictions are up. And, we don't have to do the virtual stuff anymore. We definitely want to expand it out and get back to doing some things to really touch those lives. That's what it's all about. At the end of the day, it's giving back, giving the opportunity to these kids, put them in a safe space, safe environment to really thrive. And again, spend time and make it meaningful time, with that. So and not only that, it's 501c3. We take all kind of donations, and actually it is tax deductible. So again, Tony Dixon Foundation, you'll see the information on there of how to donate as well.
Man, I'm going to tell you just how important this work is that needs to be done. I was out signing autographs at an event about 2 weeks ago in a little small town, right? I meet this kid, high school senior. He comes in, young African-American kid. He's talking about football, this, football, that. And I asked him, so what's your plan if football doesn't, work, you don't get a scholarship? He said, I'll probably go be a lineman or a welder. I literally stopped everything I was doing, and I made everybody in that line wait. And I had about a 25, 30-minute conversation with this young man about life and the choices that you have. Don't limit yourself to being in a small town hanging power lines or being no damn welder. I gave him my personal phone number and email, and I said, man, you call me, and I'll help you whatever you need in planning your life and your future. It's so many of them that are lost and confused because you go up in these small towns, ain't nobody gonna tell you no different, man.
Exactly. And then they look at it as success if you leave, if you move from a small town. People used to tell me still, like, you got out. Man, hell, shit. Sorry. Like, you can get out too. What do you mean you got out? I'm like, it's not a prison. You just got to break that mental glass ceiling. Right. Sometimes you don't know. You got people that live in Pickens County that may not have ever been to Birmingham. That sounds crazy to us, but that's reality in some cases. They may not have ever been to Birmingham. So the idea of going to, what is it, Progressive Stadium? Is that what they call it? Or Protective Stadium, whatever?
Protective Stadium.
The idea of going to Protective Stadium for them is huge, right? Mm-hmm. For us, it's just something to do another day. But for them, it could mean the world. So, and that's what, as you grow older and as you get in our profession, as I age, I have to remind myself of the little kid in me. The little kid in me where everything mattered, where if I saw a former Alabama player, it mattered, right? You have to sometimes understand it's not the grandiloso things, it's the small things, it's the little things, and the little things build up to the lot. It's all about planting that seed, right? You plant that seed in that heart, you let it take root, come alive. You never know what it will amount to in the future.
All right.
Absolutely right. Well, that'll do it for us tonight. Great show, gentlemen. Again, thank you, Tony. We definitely appreciate you. Roll Tide, guys.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.